Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from Lamb of God, self-titled Lamb of God, out June 19th on Epic Records. The album has 10 tracks, 40 minutes in length, and this the band's 8th full-length studio album. This is Lamb of God on steroids, re-energized and revitalized. And in order for you to be able to digest this record, I really feel like you have to break it down into 4 core elements: structure, drums, guitars, and vocals. Starting off with the structure, in my opinion, this is an album that's very linear in its approach, very straightforward. No ups and no downs, just straight grooves and aggression all the way through. Allows the record to be very concise and have a signature sound approach that stays consistent through every single song on the record. When you start looking independently into each song individually, that's where you're going to find the changes. They changed the structures, they changed the approaches, they changed the way they constructed the songs, allowed some volatility underneath that main core linear level that the record has. So the songs go in different directions, the songs have different approaches, allowing them not to sound repetitive, not to feel like one is a mirror of the other. So this creates volatility, it creates dynamic mechanisms that allows the record to be very fluid. But then when you look at the overall picture, having that signature sound that spreads across all 10 tracks, it brings it all together. It allows the album to be concise, it allows the album to not break apart on a track-by-track basis and really feel like a full album, like a full record. I love this structure, I love this approach, having two faces, if you will, the independent one on the track-by-track basis, and then the overall big picture as far as the album is concerned. Now, as far as the drums goes, what can I say? Art Cruz delivered. The guy hit the ground running. You really feel like it fits into this band perfectly. The sound on the drums is very aggressive, is very heavy, but still very well balanced across every single track. And in my opinion, he really added an element that perhaps people were afraid that would be missing with the departure of their previous drummer. In my opinion, I don't see really anything falling off the wagon. I don't see any changes whatsoever. The record is very consistent from a drum perspective, and it really adds a lot of grooviness to the sound. It adds a lot of heaviness, it adds a lot of power and momentum on almost every single song. I really like the drums and how they sound on this record. So if that was a question mark coming into this album, considering that this is his first a full record, first studio album with the band, I think this album will dissipate all the doubts. There's no doubt in my mind that they picked the right guy to be behind the drum kit, not only for this record, but for the band as they move forward. On the guitar side of things, this album has a lot of sound coming from both guitar players. I really felt that one of the dynamic mechanisms of the album was how big, how thick the guitar sound was on this record. Groovy, melodic, heavy, aggressive. It has all different elements, but one thing that's constant on every single song is how big the sound is coming from the guitars. It really fills in the space. Whatever the drums don't catch, wherever the drums are not able to reach out to, the guitars fill in on those gaps, and they just create this huge wall of sound that drives from song to song, almost feeling like it's picking up momentum as it moves forward. I love the guitar approach on the record. I love the dynamics between both of the guitar players on the album. They really feed off of each other. They really know each other's pluses and minuses, if you will. They know their strengths and their weaknesses, so they're really able to complete each other in order to create songs that sound really robust, that sound like have a lot of movement, that have a lot of moving pieces, but always feeling like a huge ton of bricks coming at you. It's just magnificent sound as far as the guitars are concerned. Like I said, very groovy, but also very heavy, very driven, in creating incredible melodies, incredible tracks that have just a magnificent overall guitar presence as far as I'm concerned. Last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the vocals. Besides Randy on vocals, you're going to get 2 guest appearances on this album. Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed and Chuck Billy from Testament. They appear on one song each. In my opinion, it adds a little bit of a spice to the record. It's always nice, at least for me, I like when there's a guest vocalist or a guest artist on a record. It adds something different. It's just it's like a little bit of a spark within the record. It just piques your attention to see what they are going to do. What are they going to bring and going to add to a specific song, and then obviously to the overall feel of the record. But in my opinion, Randy could have handled this album on his own. He doesn't really need help. He has an incredible vocal performance on this album. I felt like he brought a lot of aggression, a lot of emotion to his delivery, to the way the lyrics come across, really painting a vivid picture on each and every single song of what the lyrics represents. He's able to bring that to life with his vocal performance and the way he brings those vocals at you. I absolutely love his approach. I also like some of the combinations that they did as far as using backing vocals in some of the tracks, really adding almost a live presence, not really adding heaviness, because the album is already heavy. Randy's already has a very heavy vocal approach, if you will. But by adding some backing vocals throughout some of the tracks on the album, I felt that it brought a little bit of the live essence that the band has into the studio. And to me, that's always a good thing, because I like bands that create studio records that have a live vibe, because at the end of the day, you're going to play these songs live, at least some of them. And you want to really be able to transport that emotion, that raw feeling that you have when you're performing live, connecting with the audience. You want to transport that into the studio, into your music, in order to really enhance the emotion, the aggression, the intensity that the tracks have. Overall, this is a sledgehammer of a record, a sledgehammer to the face of a record. If you're going to release your 8th full-length studio album, and if you're going to self-title the record, you better come correct. And in my opinion, Lamb of God did that with this album. Magnificent record all across, every single track, no skippable tracks. This is really one impressive album, top to bottom. As far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Gears. The drums and guitar build up on this song as the intro starts really feels like your classic Lamb of God sound, Lamb of God style approach, and I love that. It gives you a sense of comfort when this song kicks in. It just makes you feel like you know exactly where you are, and you know exactly what's going to hit you at the next corner. The guitars and drums really become almost like a machine gun, the way they're coming at you, alternating but together at the same time, coming together, alternating times, alternating approaches, but very heavy, very driven, really punching you in the face. Like I said, almost feeling like a machine gun sound at times, with some groovy riffs mixed in between. And that's why I said there's this coming and going between the drums and the guitars. There's some grooviness in the middle, but it's a song that's very driven, very, very powerful all around. The chorus is very melodic, and then vocally as well. It's not just melodically from a musical perspective, it's very melodic from both musically and vocally aspects. And that adds a little bit of intensity to the way the chorus sounds. It gives it a little bit more of a punch. It gives it a little bit more substance. This is one of those songs that uses some backing vocals. I really like it. It expands the volume of the track. Like I said, it doesn't make it heavier, but it really expands the sound and the volume. It makes it feel a little bit bigger, and it gives it a little bit more substance. I like that. It adds a layer to it. There's a clear contrast, in my opinion, in this song between the verses and the chorus. It's just that change really creates a dynamic mechanism that gives the song that up and down feel that you perhaps don't get throughout the record, because like I said, the album feels very concise, very driven. This song internally, the way it's structured, the way it's put together, gives you that more of a roller coaster vibe. Not only from the sound perspective, but how the song is constructed. You really feel like you get these ups and downs, this roller coaster progression within the track itself. And then the song closes off as heavy, as strong as it had started. It goes absolutely full circle. Next, Resurrection Man. Real somber opening to this track. A music box style melody. That's how the song starts. So it has a really dark embrace as the song opens up. Then it is a neck breaker of a track. The moment all the aggression is unleashed onto the song, it's demolishing. This song is heavy, is groovy. It just destroys everything in its path, and it's not fast moving. In my opinion, it actually moves fairly slow, but in that low speed, if you will, that's where the heaviness lies, and that's what makes the song feel even heavier. The chorus slows down a little bit from how the verses feel. Not a lot. It's not a drastic change. It's actually a very minor change, but you feel like the chorus slows down the song just slightly. Not a lot, but there's a little bit of a slowdown. And then you have this more, which gives the song this more continuous approach. There's a slight change, but not enough to be drastic, so it gives you a sense of continuity from verses into the chorus. The guitar feedback bridge at the middle of this track is absolutely phenomenal. I like that. What a change. It resets the track altogether. You get that feedback there. It's like it works as a bridge. It builds up. You feel like the volume, the sound is intensifying, is growing, is becoming bigger, and then it just absolutely explodes. It makes the second half, after the second half of the song, feel a lot heavier, a lot more powerful than the first half. And that's in part because it is a lot heavier, a lot more powerful than the first half. But that break there, that feedback bridge that allows the song to reset, reignite, and then re-engage the listener, it adds, it moves it all the way to 11, in my opinion. Even though that second part, if you look at it, it is heavier, it is more pungent, but doing that reset, that feedback in the middle really resets it, and it's just, the way you approach it, it just really feels like it's exploding in your ears. What a great track, what a great approach, great construction, great delivery, and in a different way of approaching a song in order to create this push forward, this momentum movement forward that absolutely works on this song, and it works throughout the record, but with different elements at play. Last but not least, Poisson Dream, a song that features Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed. If I had to define this track as far as the overall sound is concerned, I would say you mix a little bit of Slayer, you mix a little bit of Hatebreed, and then you give it the Lamb of God lime twist to it, and that's what this song is all about. The riff, in my opinion, that drives the sound, that permeates through this track, is really a blend of those three bands, is really a blend of Slayer, Hatebreed, and then Lamb of God with their own personal DNA twist to how that sound would be. And that to me is the makeup, the DNA of this song. It really feels infectious in the way it sounds, in the way it drives. The backing vocals in the pre-chorus, in my opinion, add a lot of power. It adds a little bit of heaviness, but more importantly, it adds volume to that specific portion of the song, and allows the chorus that comes after to absolutely explode, to feel even bigger. So great dynamic of pre-chorus and chorus. I really like how those two parts interact with each other, and just by adding backing vocals, what a change that it makes to that song. Then Jamie Jasta comes in, he is the bridge of the track, and then after the second chorus, he merges in with Randy on vocals. It becomes almost a duet of sorts between the two of them. I like this approach as well. This is a great approach. You introduce him to the track, and then after he's introduced to the track, you merge both vocalists in, and you allow the two of them to tag team with each other and finish the track all the way off. It allows the song to gain momentum. It allows the song to become heavier. The vocals gain a lot more presence within the track, and it becomes a more powerful, almost feeling like a live song in a studio setting. And I like that dynamic. I mentioned that earlier. I like when a band creates studio songs that sound like they were recorded in a live setting. This one is one of those songs, not just because of the dynamic of the two vocalists, that plays a huge role, but also the internal structure and the internal sound that the song has. The mixture, like I said, in my opinion, of Slayer, Lamb of God, and Hatebreed really gives the song all the condiments that it needs to feel like a live track in a studio setting. I love this track, one of my favorites on the album. This is it. This is Lamb of God with their self-titled album, Lamb of God, out June 19th on Epic Records. Let me know your thought on the bands, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.